also be available as right afterwards, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
So, hello, welcome everyone. As you know, some weeks back we had started a discussion asking the community for inputs on roadmap for 2024, and this wiki page was this is the thread, and the wiki page is the place where we had summarized what were some of the priorities for 2023, and then we also spoke about the various initiatives that were conducted, and then we put up some of the recommendations for 2024 based on the work that is continuing forward from 23 and based on some of the interests and feedback that is going on. And I think we've had two calls where we've had this discussion. The first call was where we did a in-depth walkthrough through this page, and there was quite a lot of feedback that was shared. That is something that's available for you all to have a look in the same discussion thread and in the wiki page. So this YouTube recording will actually showcase some of the discussion points, and the PatCon notes also have it. So based on the various inputs, what we've tried to do is come up with what we think could be the potential areas of focus for 2024. And again, these are up for discussion and they are first cut and with a lot of caveats based on available bandwidth. But to some degree, I think it will be good to just go through them, and then we can you can give us some inputs, you can ask some questions. Maybe today we'll try and time box all of this till 7 p.m. India time, which is another 20 minutes at max, so that the second part of the IPD demo and conversation can happen. And we can, of course, continue the conversation on Slack, on Talk, or in the next PAT call. So, in ensuring that the IPD work is also covered. So, at a high level, if you see, these were the goals. Is my text editor visible, Anshul?
Yeah, it's good.
All right, thanks, Mohan. So these were the goals at a high level for 2023 that we had spoken about last time. So let's talk a little bit about some of the priorities for 2024. And of course, these are like high level priorities. There's still going to be bug fixes and individual, improvements and features that will continue to go alongside. So the first goal is what is called. I'll just quickly first talk about the goals, the major items, and then later then I'll go into the individual examples and initiatives, and people can ask questions. So at a high level, there are 5 goals currently identified. First one is shelf readiness for Bahmni standard for hospitals along with IPD, right? So the word shelf readiness here really means that we want adopters of Bahmni or looking for rolling Bahmni out in hospitals to be able to use Bahmni ready out of the box uh, for hospitals, which has always been the case earlier too. The legacy Bahmni was for hospital, but this time we also want to make sure that the IPD features that have been developed through the Cure team, they are comprehensive and configured out of the box for easy to use for certain scenarios. And we'll talk about those details, and Akhil will also add to them. So shelf ready Bahmni standard release for hospitals. Second goal is to continuation of the goal which was also there in the last year, for which we have done some work and we feel more work needs to be done here, which is increase doctor adoption of Omni, focus specifically on clinicians and experiences for the clinicians to make Omni easier to use, faster, and provide more value. One of the newer goals is also to look at an improved patient experience. Up till now, Bhamni hasn't had a patient-facing experience or a patient-facing app, and that has been in demand for quite some time. And it does have actually benefits because it can help reduce the load on the facility if patients can directly get access to their appointments, book appointments, or get access to clinician notes, upload documents. So this is also an area that would benefit um, The fourth goal is comprehensive security posture. Security has been high on the priority list earlier too, and that's something that we have to continue focusing on. So that's the fourth goal. And the last goal is around components update. Just like in 2022, 2023, we've done significant upgrades on the OpenMRS front. We also want to ensure that the other components, including the database, the Java versions, and other underlying components, for both security reasons as well as development and maintenance reasons, continue to be up to date. And there is work to be done on that front too. So goal 4 and 5 to a degree are technical oriented goals, whereas 1, 2, and 3 are more product oriented and domain oriented goals, along with interoperability, which is part of the shelf readiness uh, goal itself. So I'll just pause here before we look at the various initiatives. I think the initiatives to some degree have been spoken and are well understood. These are just example initiatives or things that we think will come under each of these goals. There could be more initiatives that could come in, or some things could go down, but these were the ones that kind of come a bit on the highlight and were discussed or felt important enough to be made part of the particular goal. All right, I'll pause and sort of open the floor up for questions or thoughts.
And again, don't think that this is the final list, right? If any project or any of you would want to collaborate, you are more than welcome to. Obviously, we are also going to be opportunistic. Imagine, like, a project or aligned project comes up and says that we want to do that. Yes, you would get all the support from the product side as well.
Okay, so maybe I agree. Thanks, Anshu. I'll dive in a bit into the initiatives and sort of summarize what they are, and then people can potentially post specific thoughts or questions on these. So the first goal, right, as I spoke, was shelf readiness for Bahmni standard. So here, the idea is to have a Bahmni standard v1.0 release on the new platform. Even though Bahmni standard has been available as a dev version, we want to ensure that it is packaged with the new Odoo 16 and with the IPD features that have been recently developed. And also we wanted to ensure that it comes pre-configured for a typical 50-100 bed hospital. Akhil, maybe if you're there, can you just give a bit of your thoughts on what would shelf readiness for 50-100 bed hospital could look like in terms of out-of-box configuration?
Yeah, sure. So basically, our idea is to have, just like what we did with Bamni Lite, we had, quite a lot of metadata already configured with just the specifics left for the hospitals to, or for the clinics to configure for themselves. Similar things we are going to do with Bamni Standard as well. And since we will have an IPD, module, now we are thinking of creating similar metadata where you will have the wards already there. You will have a bunch of roles already created, and the features would be configured, as if they have been configured for a 50 to 100 bed or medium-sized hospital. So the idea behind this is to just reduce the rollout time, so that you already have a bunch of stuff already created. You don't have to spend a week every time you are going to roll out to a new hospital. There would be wards created, there would be roles already there would be workflows created, and that would be you just need to create your actual persons, register your doctors, your nurses, and the staff, and that's all that you need to do.
Thanks, Akhil. Yeah. So again, right, we've done Bahmni Light release with the mind, with keeping the mind of the use case as clinics and small hospitals. And here the idea is that we are looking at Bahmni standard for bigger hospitals along with IPD scenario. So we do want to make it easy for an adopter to understand and to be able to visualize what Bahmni would look like for their hospital. They would still need to do configurations on top of it, but it will make it a lot easier because you will be able to see, forms, discharge summaries, and templates, and so on that give you a sense of how to adapt it to your needs fast. So we do want to do that. Otherwise, a lot of features are not so obvious if they're not pre-configured and made available in the right vocabulary around it. So that would be focus to help in easy understanding. There'll be demo servers put up with IPD and so on. Along with that, yes, sorry, go
There's a
ahead, go ahead.
question. There's a
Yes,
question.
yes.
If
I will answer that. The Bahmni
yeah,
Light one, kya? Question
yeah,
on whether, yeah, I'll
yeah.
answer that also. Yes. Yeah, so the short answer to that question is that yes, Supriya. The thing is that the product, the EMR product is the same, right? The Docker images that get used in Bahmni Lite and in Bahmni Standard, they are the same Docker images. So all the code that is going in is going to be part of the EMR code base. So all those features will be available in the Bahmni Lite packages also, as well as in Bahmni Standard, because the binaries are the same. I think the only difference is that they would not be in a way switched on by default, which means the configurations that you choose, they will decide what features you see or don't see. So if you use Bahmni Lite and copy over the same configurations which are there with Bahmni Standard in the default config folder, then your IPD features will switch on. It's very similar to how you have used Bahmni Lite in your project today and used your own config and those switch on. So there is nothing different in a way in the packaging sense. It's just the configurations that you will need to copy paste, which you would have anyways done because you are not going to use the default config out of the box even in your project.
Correct. I just want to understand if this will be part of next 1.1 of Bahmni Light or we haven't thought through that yet.
No, so we haven't, but if it goes into Bahmni standard, you can always choose those Docker images for your next, release when you pick this up. As long as they are the stable versions of the images, you would be okay to pick that up. Whenever the Lite 1.1 release happens, you can either pick that one or you might say, I'll go with the standard 1.0. We'll try and see if we can do the Lite 1.1 release in parallel with the standard 1.0 release because they will be both stable binaries. So if that happens, then that might be the best actually.
Yeah, that's if that is there, that will help us. Yeah, makes sense.
Right. The other area D and E is also brought up in the conversation. In general, we want to continue focusing on fire and ABDM standard as we are moving forward, just like we've been doing in the last 2 years. We are opportunistic about the places, but the idea is that we are ensuring that new functionality is fire compatible, and there are also through OpenMRS and Bahmni extensions, a lot of additional fire endpoints which are being exposed, and that is something that we continue to do, including the apps that we are building. We are also, like for instance, if we are allowing patients to download clinical documents and so on, the idea is to use fire as the model for doing that. So continuous focus on interop with fire. There were also certain items that Anshuman had mentioned in the previous call which needed to be uplifted from a fire perspective. So those would all kind of come under this particular point. And then lastly, validation with India SNOMED packages. As you all know, many of you, that last year, along with SNOMED International, we added significant support for SNOMED CT and SNOMED terminology server and also tested it with the international edition of SNOMED. In this year, we want to ensure that because there is significant strong adoption of SNOMED by India and a lot of push on SNOMED packages, we want to just ensure and validate that the India extensions work fine with Bahmni to ensure continued adoption of of Bahmni with SNOMED and in India also as an additional focus area. There is a question around upgrade of OpenLS or possibly a migration to Senate and Bika limbs. This has been a question that's been around. We have done certain fixes to OpenLS in last year also, and currently the plan is that Bahmni standard will be released with the OpenLS itself that we have. It's not the OpenLS global version, but we do want community inputs on whether it should be Bika Limbs or OpenLS. We've been leaning towards Bika Limbs over the last 1.5 years, but just haven't had the bandwidth to make the switch. But this is definitely one really important discussion area for this year to say, OpenLS Global or Bika Limbs/Senate, which are almost the same, which one to go for and why. And yeah, I think we need community inputs there, but definitely the Bahmni standard V1.0 release, which is planned for the first quarter or first half of this year, that one will be with OpenLS, not with Bika Limbs right now. But yeah, I'll pause for people who have any opinion on OpenLS or Senate limbs. Please do share your thoughts now if you are wanting to, or even later.
Hi, Gurpreet, Sandeep. I guess that OpenLS, like not recently, but earlier when we compared the OpenLS doesn't have the more soft feature typically the end user or the lab look forward, like an automatically sending reports or having patient access their report directly alert. So those are things I think Bicalims has. But also the analyzer integration is something it's lacked in the OpenLS. So that
Yes,
could be one of the
absolutely.
factor we can go for the Bicalims or Senate or whichever.
Yeah, no, agree. Actually, from user experience perspective and feature richness perspective, lab analyzers integration and microbiology, Senate limbs is seems superior to the OpenLS that we currently have. And we feel that what we will likely have to do is ship an additional integration with Bika limbs so that people can choose which one they want to pick, because there are quite a few people already using OpenLS. So continue to support OpenLS for the time being, uh, maybe for another year and a half or two, but also additionally look at shipping the integration with Senate limbs, I think, so that community has a choice on which one they want to go with. And also it can help us eventually transition into Bika limbs completely. So I feel like that might be the path to do, and then we do the Bika limbs integration in a slightly more standards based manner rather than a custom open MRS API versus a fire diagnostic report with Loink kind of an integration. That way, the coupling between Bika limbs and Bahmni is weaker, or at least standards based rather than custom based. So that way it'd be more. I think it will make it more accessible for people to use Bahmni with any limb system. So I think that's what I feel we could look at as an option. Anshu, do you agree? Anything you want to add?
No, yeah. So
Okay.
it will be potentially like, a scenario like what we had with, say, OpenERP and Odoo, right? Bahmni was compatible both with the OpenERP 7 as well as Odoo 10. Right. So similarly with the lab, even if we move to Senate, for example, I don't think like, we'll have enough scope. Even if we do this, we might like, just achieve a prototype this year. Uh, but we are going to keep our support for OpenLS for some time for sure.
Yeah, great, true. I agree. And yeah, I mean, the community implementation, right, of this integration, which was published in 2021, that's definitely been a very popular thread. As you can see, it's got quite a lot of people who come and visited it, and a lot of views on the demo video, also over 2,000 plus. So clearly, clearly, this is something that a significant set of audience would like to eventually see. So yeah, I agree that that's something that we'll have to consider moving forward. And I mentioned it here in terms of this is an open question that we have to address. Cool. So in the second goal, this is the point we discussed in depth in the first call, right? Which was about having a mobile app for clinicians and generally making Bahmni easy to use on the mobile. So that's a focus area that we feel we have to focus on. Sandeep had mentioned earlier that if we can first do minimal investment on making current Bahmni easy to use on a tablet device, then that could be an easy win. And then we could look at, a separate mobile app. So that's definitely worth considering. We did that even last year. And in certain places like JSS, doctors have appreciated the move, the fact that, on the mobile, Bahmni now looks a lot cleaner and easier. But there's definitely the design for mobile first experience is going to be different from desktop first experience. So that's something we'd like to put energy on, and it requires definitely significant investment to do a good job on this in this part. There's also quite a lot of feedback from various users on UX improvements to the overall UI, and as more people adopt it, in like clinical settings and across the world with focus on digital health, we are seeing quite a lot of very helpful feedback on our UI. So that's something that we'd like to prioritize, especially the ones which can be easy wins to do. We've also had a split screen design in the works for the last 1 year that we've got good feedback on. That's an area that we'd like to also get started. Again, bandwidth and investment pending. The other area that was discussed last time was leveraging AI ML for clinical summaries and consultations. For instance, being able to say that, hey, for a particular patient, give me a summary of their history or give me a summary of their diabetic history. So that kind of summarization could be very beneficial, or being able to do consultation by just typing or typing what you are thinking about, and then the system while typing suggesting, okay, do you want to prescribe X or prescribe Y, and is that what you're trying to say, and then convert that into data elements, so that the doctor's experience of typing their of consultation and prescription is similar to how they would do today, but it would get converted. So those are things we want to experiment with, given the current wave of interest and investment in this area. All right, so I think I'll pause just in the interest of time. I think this is generally comprehensive. If someone has a specific question, maybe you can ask, or let's pause and shift over to the IPD conversation, and we can come back to this. This we will share anyways on the talk thread and in the notes, and we can discuss either on the roadmap channel, where I have also pasted some of these items. Do consider joining Slack to discuss some of these, or otherwise we can talk about it in the next PAT call.
Yeah, so next PAT call is going to be our potentially last focus discussion on the roadmap. I mean, again, as a reminding you that you can always bring up features, etc., especially if you have a project in pipeline, etc., and get support from the product. Maybe you can socialize this with your providers, have teams, and have discussions, and we'll have another focus discussion on the priorities and roadmaps next week. And feel free to leave comments on the document, on the talk threads. There is in the link itself, where you'll find a link to the talk thread where all the roadmap discussions are happening. If you want to brainstorm certain things, feel free to ping us on Slack, get clarity on a few things, and yeah, encourage all possible means of communication. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording so it is easier for me to upload onto the YouTube and start recording again when Abhinav starts.